Scanning for new knowledge is one of a set of useful tools used in the improvement science process. Essentially, this tool invites us to informally but carefully and intentionally scan research and other knowledge from experienced sources for relevant new knowledge about how others navigated, learned, and improved on problems or causes similar to what we've chosen to investigate. We do these types of informal scans for new knowledge often without even thinking about it. Take, for example, the experience of being a new parent. When very dependent small humans come into our lives for whom we are responsible, most parents experience an overwhelming sense that there is a lot we don't know about the care of small humans. When we encounter those first few not knowings, we inevitably scan for knowledge. We might Google the advice of 1,000 mom blogs to find out how others deal with the problem of toddlers removing their own diapers at night. Or we might call our sister-in-law with more parenting experience to show us how to install car seats properly. Or we may even find ourselves staring down a stack of new books on our bookshelf, hoping they hold the answer to how to raise decent people and not monsters. Let's ignore that these are all real personal examples and focus on the fact that we all turn to those with experience or expertise with our problems. And we try and pick out the things that are relevant and can help us survive parenting. In improvement science, scanning for knowledge gives us some scaffolding and an informal process for this useful action. It's important to keep in mind that knowledge can come from different places. There's research knowledge and professional knowledge that both can bring value to our learnings. Research knowledge includes things like completing a literature review of scholarly sources, learning from the work of research institutes like the Urban Education Institute, and scanning materials sourced by your Improvement Science Network Hub. On the other hand, professional knowledge often involves finding and connecting with someone who has experience in dealing with your specific problem and learning from them directly. The scanning process is not complicated, but there are things to remember. Scanning can be an informal process at this stage, but focus on trustworthy sources. It helps if your team uses a uniform protocol for collaborating on findings after scanning, and you'll need to work on sharing a simple, clear summary of your findings, connections, and next steps with your larger improvement science team. One scanning protocol you might use works like this. Once you divide up the different sources and materials that you want to scan, individuals on the team summarize their learnings into short, simple statements. The team responsible for scanning then shares their summary statements and looks to identify patterns or common themes between the sources. And the team then takes time to briefly explain how the ideas gleaned from their scanning connect to the larger team's problem statement. And finally, the scanning team shares their further wonderings or next steps they believe are needed in light of the new knowledge. Let's look at an example of how this protocol works. Let's imagine that we've created a problem statement after looking at this data about the percent of students with caregiving responsibilities who said caregiving reduced their ability to keep up with school. Let's say we're teachers in Northside ISD and we crafted a problem statement that says 65% of students in NISD with caregiving responsibilities report a reduced ability to keep up with school, which is a higher percentage than 6 out of the other 7 school systems in our city surveyed by 10% or more. We might then ask our hub to help us find some relevant research examining situations similar to our problem, and they might provide us with this study of the life situations and institutional support of women university students with family and job responsibilities. It may not be a one-to-one comparison, but we'll scan this study in the hope that it might offer some insights or ideas for our own investigation of a similar issue with a different demographic. So, with this study in mind, we discover this. If we wish to prevent these women from dropping out, adult educators need to advocate for increased access to adequate financial assistance for students who must continue to support their families, even if they are spread too thin. We can summarize our key learning this way. Advocacy for increased financial assistance to college students with caregiving responsibilities is a helpful step toward a big picture solution. And then this might give us just one puzzle piece that fits in with our larger investigation of the problem. So we describe the connection for our team like this. In similar ways, serious actions advocating better financial and or caregiving assistance to students with those responsibilities is a key in closing the gap we see. And we might report our new question or next steps like this. We need to find out what advocacy efforts are already underway to this end in our district and community, and we need to get on board. Let's look at another example. We found this. For example, distance education can reduce stress but is often available only to students who are geographically isolated, instead of being an option for any student whose life situation makes class attendance difficult. The key learning we share is this. Distance learning options were helpful institutional supports to college students with caregiving responsibilities. We describe the connection to our problem like this. We could provide this as an option to our students with caregiving responsibilities like we have during pandemic learning or with homebound students. And include this new question that arises, wondering about distance learning provided to students with medical situations that require them to be homebound, and if those same processes might work for students with caregiving responsibilities. Scanning and sharing your knowledge using this protocol is a good way to quickly and efficiently bring some new knowledge into the investigation of our problem before we jump into developing potential solutions. Remember, you can find more help with scanning and other useful improvement science tools in our UEI Improvement Science Toolkit.